Good morning. Hello. What a beautiful, beautiful morning. My gosh. Sometimes before I do this in the morning, I'll just sit here for a while and just drop into the pool of this beautiful space. It's it's funny. I I remember that I part of why I most of my life have been very busy was out of judgment. I had some sort of an imaginary standard that had to be met, and so I was busy trying to measure up to this imaginary standard. Hey, buddy. Hello. And um, and and now that seems to be gone, and without that standard, which came out of my belief systems, or out of my conditioning, um, I'm not living in a state of complaint or not good enough. It's without that standard, I'm free to enjoy the moment as it is, and not be um, sitting in my yard and noticing that the lawn is not mowed, or that the trees or there's chairs in my yard and they're not properly set up. I don't have. They're just where they are, and so there's no feeling of this isn't the way it should be. There's only the feeling that this is the way it is, and it's beautiful, and it's beautiful. So I didn't realize that till just now, as it came out, that a lot of my busyness for most of my life had come out of a dissatisfaction that was fueled by this idea that I was supposed to live up to a certain standard. So if you find yourself, busy, 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 often look deeper and look at what's going on inside to see if your busyness like mine is tied to some old concept or belief or idea that I was supposed to be a certain way. Okay, just thought I would talk about that a little bit. I don't. What came as I was getting ready to come down here was that I wanted to read a little bit from the Bhagavad Gita this morning. Now, many of you, might not know this book, and some of you who are friends of Bill W. So who are in the 12-step recovery world, which is a lot of people that I'm connected with will recognize that Bill said to be quick to see where religious people are right, to look around, and not to use that advice from Bill as an excuse not to do the work that's in front of us in the 12 steps, but to look around. And I found that the Bhagavad Gita, which the Gita is a, I wish I could tell you more about it, but it's a piece that was written, it's a Hindu text, It's a Hindu text. It's a very, very famous Hindu text, and, and it's a story. Hi, Shanghai. Awesome. It's a story, and as I understand it, it's been placed in the middle of one of the great, longest poems in the possibly in the world, a Hindu text, and this poem was placed in the middle of it, and it's an amazing story of Arjuna, and if you look up Arjuna, Arjuna was a warrior in Hindu mythology, and Arjuna was about to go into battle, and he rode down between the two armies, and he all of a sudden was overcome with this idea that it's the senselessness of the war and the senselessness of what was about to happen, and then time froze. So this whole book was pretty much written in this frame of time that stopped. And this is the story, written, hundreds of years ago, and Krishna was there. So that was, and Krishna's in Hindu mythology is God, and a concept, and a beautiful concept of God was Krishna. And Krishna was there, and Krishna spoke to Arjuna, and it was also witnessed, and I believe it was written from the perspective of the witness. So I've listened to this. I have it on Audible, and I've listened to it hundreds of times. And one of my teachers, Dr. David Hawkins, has said that this book vibrates over 900, and his scale of vibration of 1,000 is Christ consciousness, and so, through how he measured vibration, this book, and so I remember the first time that I read it, and I thought, well, this doesn't make sense to me, and of course it didn't make sense to me, and but what I did see, and I mean, there's many pieces in it, but what I did see is that the book itself, the vibration between the words. So I encourage you, if you're on this path and of surrender, this path of awakening. This is this translation, and there's many. I have 3 or 4 myself, but there are many translations of this Bhagavad Gita. Was written by Stephen Mitchell. And Stephen Mitchell's written a number of books. He wrote also a translation of the Tao Te Ching. And anyway, it's amazing. So I just thought I'd read a little bit of this before I I didn't actually have anything picked out, but here we go. Hi, Darren. Welcome. So this is there's many chapters, So here, just starting here, it says, Arjuna said, how would you describe the man whose wisdom is steadfast, Krishna? How does the wise man speak? How does he sit, stand, and walk? And the Blessed Lord said, when a man gives up all desires that emerge from the mind and rests, contented in the self, by the self, he is called a man of firm wisdom. He whose mind is untroubled by any misfortune, whose craving for pleasure has disappeared, who is free from greed, fear, anger, who is unattached to all things, who neither grieves nor rejoices, if good or if bad things happen, that man is a man of firm wisdom. Having drawn back all his senses from the objects of sense, as a tortoise draws back into his shell, that man is a man of firm wisdom. Sense objects fade for the abstinent. Sense objects fade for the abstinent, yet the craving for them continues. But even the craving vanishes for someone who has seen the truth. At first, although he continually tries to subdue them, the turbulent senses tear at his mind and violently carry it away. Sounds familiar for those of us in recovery, doesn't it? Restraining the senses, disciplined, he should focus his whole mind on me, so on God. When the senses are in his control, that man is a man of firm wisdom. If a man keeps drawing on sense objects, attachment to them arises. From attachment, desire flares up. From desire, anger is born. From anger, confusion follows. From confusion, weakness of memory, weak understanding, ruin. But the man who is self-controlled, who meets the objects of the senses with neither craving nor aversion, will attain serenity at last. In serenity, all sorrows disappear at once, forever. When his heart has become serene, his understanding is steadfast. The undisciplined have no wisdom, no one-pointed concentration. With no concentration, no peace. With no peace, where can joy be? When the mind constantly runs after the wandering senses, it drives away wisdom, like the wind, blowing a ship off course. And so, Arjuna, when someone is able to withdraw his senses from every object of sensation, that man is a man of firm wisdom. In the night of all beings, the wise man sees only the radiance of the self. But the sense world, where all beings wake, for him is as dark as night. The man whom desires enter as river flow into the sea, filled yet always unmoving. That man finds perfect peace. Abandoning all desires, acting without craving, free from all thoughts of I and mine, that man finds in utter peace. This is the divine state, Arjuna, absorbed in it everywhere, always. Even in the moment of death, he vanishes into God's bliss. Beautiful. That was just random, but what a beautiful piece. So this is from the Bhagavad Gita. I just thought I'd read a little bit for you. Stephen Mitchell's translation. A beautiful book. Spend some time there if you feel to. I have no idea. Is it September? It is September. And it must be, is it the 8th or the 9th? Or the 10th? Is it the 10th, you guys? It must be the 10th. Okay. I should have checked, I guess. Oh, could be on here. No, it's the 11th. Oh, there, it's the 11th. So many of us in the early stages of recovery are dealing with just that, what I just read, dealing with, a life of senses. We've been living in emotion. We've been living in, in fear. We've been living in trying to get, so full of desires or wanting. And so the first thing that we're dealing with when we first, kind of sober up from, our use of drugs and alcohol is, how do I live without that substance, whatever that is, and this is what I think he's going to speak about here. And this, I read this kind of on a daily basis. It's a little book called the 24-Hour Day Book. And it's a beautiful little piece. It was written in 1954. And so yeah, I'll just see what he says. Continuing the answers to the question of how a man can live without liquor or drugs or whatever our drug of choice was, and it could be food, sex, gambling, live without our drug of choice and be happy. We tell him he will be bound to the other AAs or the other 12-step people with a new and wonderful ties, for he and they will escape disaster together, and all will commence shoulder to shoulder the common journey to a better and more satisfactory life. Beautiful. He will know what it means to give of himself that others may survive and rediscover life. He will become happy, respected, and useful once more. Since these things have happened to us, they can happen to her, to you, or to him, or to her. Have these things happened to me? Beautiful. Meditation for the day. God manifests himself in human lives as strength to overcome desire, to overcome wanting, and power, to resist temptation. The grace of God is that power which enables a human being to change from a useless, hopeless individual to a useful, normal person. God also manifests himself as love. Love for a fellow man, compassion for their problems, and real willingness to help them. I'm going to read that again. So this is, we ask often, people come to the 12 steps and they say, well, I don't really believe in God. So this is, forget the idea of a separate God. Just look at this one line. God also manifests, so life also manifests himself as love. The moment manifests as love. Love for a fellow man, compassion for their problems, and a real willingness to help them. The grace of this moment, of this love, of this God, also manifests itself as peace of mind and serenity of character, which is just what the Bhagavad Gita was speaking of. Isn't that beautiful? The grace of this God also manifests itself as peace of mind and serenity of character. We can have plenty of power, love, and serenity in our lives if we're willing to ask God, or the moment, or love, or grace for these things each day. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may see God's grace in the strength I receive, the love I know, and the peace I have. I pray that I may be grateful for the things I have received through the grace of God, or this moment, or love. Grace, grace, grace. It's beautiful. So that's it. Thanks for listening this morning. So, watch your busyness. Watch if it's coming from an old place, an old concept of, something your mom said. Oh, the house has to be perfect, or, oh, I remember my mom used to talk about the clothes we wore, and her thing was, if you have an accident, would you ever want anybody to see that you had dirty underwear? It was totally based on the opinions of others, and because I think as kids, we didn't change our clothes that often. Certainly not every day. Anyway, so that can be lodged in there, and we can be living from that sense of lack, or that sense of not good enough. So just watch that, because we can see the subtleties of that and let it go, and just watch if we're up, being so busy, we're not present. I just also want to mention that this Monday coming up, which is only a few days from now, we're going to do our first meditation again here at the house. You're welcome to come, 7:30. And, just let me know you're coming, and we'll follow the protocols of what's going on with in our community right now in the world with this virus thing, and as best we can, we'll manage that, and yeah. So Monday night we'll also be on Facebook Live, and we'll be on YouTube Live, and on Zoom. So I'll send out the Zoom information hopefully today. I could use some help with that stuff. I'm not very technically savvy, but I'm doing it. Yes, it's getting done. Okay, you guys, love you lots, and see you tomorrow, hopefully, and one day at a time. Call or send me a note if anything comes up, if you just want to share. I certainly enjoy all the notes I've been getting lately, and I love hearing from you, and yeah, hopefully I can respond to you. Okay, thanks, love you lots.